Eutrophication, often called a dead zone or a hypoxic area, is the result of the nutrients phosphorus and nitrogen polluting a body of water from surrounding areas. Though these are essential nutrients for plant growth, an excessive amount leads to an increase in algae growth, which causes the area to become depleted of oxygen as the algae decay. As a result, the existing ecosystems are disrupted because much of the life cannot tolerate the low levels of oxygen and they either migrate or die. The Gulf of Mexico dead zone, our focus, is the largest in the United States and the second largest in the world. It can vary quite a bit in size, but the average from 2010 to 2014 was just shy of 15,000 kilometers. The source of the nutrient pollution comes from all over the Mississippi River watershed, which covers about 40% of the continental U.S. The Gulf of Mexico dead zone was first discovered in 1972, shortly after the Green Revolution began to pick up traction in the United States. The term Green Revolution is very misleading though, and has caused a variety of sustainability problems, including eutrophication of the Gulf of Mexico. The Green Revolution was a response to feeding rising populations by using a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen-rich fertilizers on monocropped, single-variety, high-yield fields. Sometimes eutrophication occurs naturally, but is often caused by human actions, and this is known as cultural eutrophication. Some of the behaviors of eutrophication are known as point sources because the source is clear and obvious. Other times it's not so easy to pinpoint, and these are called non-point sources. Some examples of point sources include municipal wastewater treatment plants, industrial wastewater discharge, urban areas, and stormwater runoff. The non-point sources are CAFOs, short for concentrated animal feeding operations, and industrial agriculture. And according to the Hypoxia Task Force, 60% of the nitrogen input to the Gulf and 49% of phosphorus inputs are a result of agricultural activities in the Mississippi River watershed.
Hi, I'm Kelly Barker. The biogeochemical cycle, the phosphorus cycle, reveals the direct correlation of human activities and eutrophication in the Gulf of Mexico. When it rains, weathering causes rocks to release phosphorus and other minerals. The phosphorus is then carried to the soil, plants, and organisms take it in. But excess phosphorus is then carried to bodies of water. Farming affects the cycle, contributing to the runoff as excess fertilizers containing phosphorus and other nutrients from untreated and unused manure are carried to streams and rivers. Urbanization is also a key factor of phosphorus. Pollution comes from fertilizers used for lawns and landscaping as well as from sewage. Urban areas are composed of vast areas of non-porous surfaces that limit natural soil filtration and creates runoff. As the water flows from urban areas and farms, it takes the excess of phosphorus and nutrients and deposits them in the Gulf where massive algal blooms take place. As the algae die, they create an oxygen-depleted zone called a dead zone, as nothing can live in these waters. Other negative impacts include those on people that live in the Gulf area. Fisheries cannot fish in the zone and tourism is affected. Finally, the Mississippi River Gulf of Mexico Watershed Nutrient Task Force in the August 2015 report to Congress states that the hypoxic zone in the Gulf of Mexico has an average area of 14,000 square kilometers, and that's about the size of Connecticut.
Here are some important aspects you should know about the indicators and drivers of eutrophication in the Gulf of Mexico. Eutrophication is a problem where massive algae blooms caused by excessive nutrients in water lead to hypoxia, which is an oxygen depletion, or more commonly known as a dead zone. This becomes an issue due to the contents of multiple rivers, including the Mississippi River, being polluted with runoff from drivers such as farms and urbanized areas. Particularly, indicators of nitrogen and phosphorus excesses originating from human activities promotes an accelerated plant-based growth. Other drivers, such as transportation and human and animal waste, leads to nitrogen deposits in the air that are then absorbed by the surrounding waters and condensed into the Gulf. The indicator for this pollution is an estimated to be 330 nitrous parts per billion in the surrounding air. The phosphorus outputs from farming is another indicator of human activities. This nutrient is estimated to be increasing, yet currently already at 160,000 metric tons at the river basin. The results of eutrophication are damage to water quality and aquatic life. This is important to us due to the communities that suffer during these unsightly blooms economically and socially. The indicator for this pollution is the hypoxic area. In the Gulf of Mexico, the dead zone is found to be approximately 6,500 kilometers. This then resulting in a $2.8 billion loss in a combination of biodiversity and fishing. We need to learn how to better regulate human actions and our effects on the environment.
A worst case and a best case scenario for what the Gulf of Mexico and the surrounding region might look like 25 years from now, based on 5 sectors: economic, political, social, international, and ecosystem health. In the worst case, efforts to protect nutrients from entering the Gulf are not made and the hypoxic zone increases annually, versus farmers reducing their dependence on nutrient-rich fertilizers, shrinking the hypoxic zone. From an economic standpoint, the hypoxic zone negatively affects fishing businesses, revenue, and they also experience job loss. Tourism drastically declines, affecting local businesses, governments, and residents, whereas in a best case scenario, commercial and recreational fishing expand due to increased biodiversity, and tourism rebounds as water quality improves. Politically, the government continues to subsidize industrial agriculture, when ideally the government would fund programs for smaller farms and to cultivate riparian zones along riverbeds to reduce nutrient pollution runoff. Socially, population continues to rise, and so does the demand for agricultural products, most responsible for nutrient outputs. On the flip side, people are more environmentally conscious and practice sustainable techniques to reduce surface area runoff. On an international level, the hypoxic zone has caused low supply of food sources, leading to increased international trade to meet demand, causing more fossil fuels to be burned during transportation and increasing the nitrogen outputs. But rather, the Gulf region earns an international reputation as a sustainable region rich in culture and great seafood. Lastly, the ecosystem suffers due to biodiversity loss as species populations decrease, and some are prone to reproductive disorders and being exposed to hypoxic area, as research suggests. On the contrary, 25 years of diverse stakeholder dialogue has paid off as the hypoxic zone has reached the EPA's goal of less than 5,000 square kilometers. Our collective vision involves a diverse group of stakeholders making decisions and establishing goals. We have smaller sustainable farms, which are now invested in and subsidized by the government. Farmers share resources amongst each other. Urban areas have become more sustainable, and elected officials in these areas have begun to focus on making their cities energy neutral. Society has become more educated on sustainable decision making and plays an active role in electing officials who support their values as well. Ecosystems in the area are thriving, and there is a sense of urgency to uphold the health of the Gulf.
Transitions. The indicator-based target we use to guide this transition is the size and scope of the seasonal algal bloom in the Gulf of Mexico. The first phase in the strategy plan is to encourage the shift in eating habits, to reduce red meat consumption by educating the public through schools, social media outlets, viral videos, and commercials. Next, initiate government incentives and tax breaks for sustainable farms promoting responsibly raised meat. Then regulating and reducing the nutrient output allowed from agriculture throughout the Mississippi River Basin. Monitoring changes and taking actions based on how the dead zone responds to human activity and behavior is another. One barrier to overcome is difficulty in creating nutrient pollution regulation in the states of the Mississippi watershed. A second is a political one. Lobbyists with big money for industrial agriculture would fight change. Another barrier is the culture and habits of the people. Meat has become something to be eaten every meal, and the demand is high. The negative aspect of the current state's values and norms are to use all the resources we want and get as much for ourselves as we can, not considering the next generation. In a desirable future, all the stakeholders would begin to think in a more sustainable way for the environment, the economy, and the well-being of human society, present and future, the result being a clean, vibrant, and healthy Gulf of Mexico.